We're recording, we're live streaming. Let's go.
I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Stonington Board of Police Commissioners for Thursday, March 11th, 2021. Roger, would you tell people how they can sign on to the meeting, please?
When it's your time to speak for public comments, or whether you're speaking to a point on the meeting agenda, you can raise your hand by pressing *3 on your phone if you're dialed in. When it's your turn to speak, the host will request for you to unmute yourself, and then you can press *6. Again, if you're dialed in for public comments, you can press *3 on your phone, and request an unmute, and we'll let you speak at that time.
Thank you. We'll start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic
for which it
stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible.
justice for all.
Thank you. Prior to the remarks of the public, I understand is Pastor Lord on board here?
Cal Lord? There is.
Nice to see you, Pastor.
Yes.
How are you?
Just wanted to share, is this the appropriate time, some of the things the chaplains have been doing?
Yes. Yes, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Great. I'm Pastor Cal Lord, chaplain with the department, one of 4. And we've been trying to meet now the last few months, once a month, just to talk about things and to see ways that we could encourage and assist at the department. In the last month, we've been called out to 3 different police calls, especially there were death notifications or situations where a chaplain was required and assisted in that manner. We've also trying to kind of show the staff and the police officers that we care about them. So thanks to Father Tom, we had breakfast sandwiches that we distributed to everyone on one morning. And then in the afternoon, we had Subway just to kind of say thank you and to try to pat everybody on the back and say great job, especially in these trying times. We also participated in the parade for Captain Desmond. We were able to kind of be a part of that, and that was kind of exciting to bring a little bit of joy to him and his situation. And I was delighted to be able to participate in last weekend's 4x4x48 run walk event. Of course, I walked. I know some of the officers and some of the other staff and personnel ran, but it was nice to be a part of the ongoing efforts there with the department. We also have worked on doing different things, like, for example, 2 of us are currently taking a course that Father Tom recommended, disaster spiritual care, to kind of hone some of our skills so that we can be of greater assistance. Working with Sergeant Hirsch, who is our liaison, one of the things that we are going to be doing, and this is a natural for us as spiritual care providers, is we're going to be praying every day for a different officer, staff member, department member, just kind of lifting them up and asking God to bless them and to be with them. Last fall, we sent notes of encouragement. Each of us kind of took a quarter of the department, just sent a note saying, hey, we're thinking about you, and great job, and thank you. And we're going to continue to do that again as we move into the spring, just so that they know that we have their back, just as many of you do.
Right, Pastor, we really appreciate what all the chaplains have done, and the feedback we're getting is very, very positive for everything that you've done for the department. Thank you very much for that. Though I did see it was kind of a cold day when you did that 4x4 walk. I saw you. It looked a little cold to me.
Well, it was a cold day, but that just made me keep moving. So.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Does any of the commissioners have any
questions? Does any commissioners have any questions?
For Pastor Lord or no? Again, we appreciate everything that the chaplains are doing, and I know the officers have been very happy with their assistance and appreciate everything that they're doing. They have gone out to some of the more difficult calls and been there for the officers to assist them. That is certainly greatly appreciated, and certainly we'll take all the prayers we can get, and also the sandwiches when they come in. They even made one special for me, so that was good. So thank you again, Cal. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Cal.
Mr. Chair, this is Lisa. I'd like to also just express real gratitude for that extra measure of having people reach out and express their thanks to some of our frontline workers. This is an issue across all of the frontline services with real exhaustion from being truly a full year into this public health emergency, and having someone reach out and just say thank you in a personalized way is really important for those frontline folks, including our police. So thank you very much to you and the others.
Great, thank you, Lisa. Does any other commissioners want to make a comment? Okay, I'm going to open it up to remarks for the public. If you are on the agenda item already, that's an item already on the agenda, wait until that item comes up. But if there's anything that you'd like, any member of the public that wants to talk about something that's not on the agenda, you may bring it up now. Roger, do we have anyone?
I don't see anybody who's actually dialed into the meeting.
Okay.
Everybody seems to have joined via the WebEx or assume for agenda items.
Okay. Well then, if we have no one else for remarks to the public, we'll move on to new business. And the first thing on the agenda for new business is the YMCA event, the Tarzan Brown Race and Turkey Trot. Is there anyone that would like to speak on that online? This is an event that we have on a regular basis here. Chief, would you like to comment on this particular event and any problems or anything you see with it based on the information that he supplied to us?
Well, it's not a problem. I think it's actually something that's pretty good that we are seeing events coming back. Because you think about it, we haven't had to really address any event for a while, or very few. So it's nice to see that even going out to later on in the fall, that people are thinking about that we're going to be open and things are going to be ready to go. So the Tarzan Brown race has very little in the town of Stonington. It basically is a stretch from the store up maybe, then they usually go back over the bridge onto the Grotz side. So there's very little in the town of Stonington, but we usually try and help them out. The turkey trot has become very popular, where actually they've had to hire police officers to be there on Thanksgiving morning. So is there about 1,000 people that's there? So with that is the only thing that I'd say is that if it looks like we're going to have a large number of participants in that particular one, we would require them to have a police officer, 2 or 3, depending on the size, to assist.
Okay, I see that we have the proper insurance certificates for the road race, so that's there. So I need a motion to approve the Tarzan Brown road race.
So
moved.
Okay, that's Commissioner Bates made that motion. Seconded.
Second.
Commissioner Elmer's made that. So the turkey, the Tarzan Brown race for 11/7/21 is approved as long as they meet any requirements of the chief. So that's passed. The next one we have is, the next on the agenda is a Good Friday walk.
Excuse me,
is there anyone here?
I think you only did Tarzan Brown.
Oh, that's the turkey trot.
Trot too.
Okay.
I'll make the motion on the turkey trot for November 25th. I make the motion to approve that as well.
Okay, somebody second it? Is there a second? Commissioner Elmer's. Commissioner Bates second that. And we also have the proper insurance for that also. So all in favor? Raise your hand. approved. The next item on the agenda is the Good Friday Walk. Is there anyone here that wants to talk about the Good Friday Walk that's been submitted? It's from the Mystic Area Ecumenical Council. Chief, do you have any comments on this, the walk?
They do this every year. So I know this is a little bit early in the, I guess, breaking out from the virus, but obviously it's outside. It's usually about 30 to 50 people. You can have that amount outside. They do go into Groton, so Groton Town is aware of it. They have the insurance. We usually try and help them out in some way over there, just to at least get them across one of the intersections. So.
And do I have a motion to approve the Good Friday Walk from a commissioner?
I believe Commissioner Turner just raised his hand.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Turner approves, seconded by Bob Elmer. All in favor?
All right.
Raise your hand. So approved. The next on the agenda is the application from the Whalers Inn for a new parking lot off of Haley Street. And I believe Mr. Sweeney is here to make comments on that. Are you on, Mr. Sweeney?
I am, sir. I am ready if you are.
You are. I'm ready. Go ahead, Phil.
Terrific. I want to appreciate the opportunity to appear before you all again this evening. It's been a while since I've been here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bill Sweeney. I'm a land use attorney and a partner with the law firm of Tobin Carberry in New London, Connecticut. And joining me tonight, I've got Amanda Arling. Amanda's the general manager of the Whalers Inn here in Mystic. I also have on the phone, I've got Mark Spruance. Mark is the construction manager for Ground Up Construction, who has been sort of spearheading the renovations of the Whalers Inn over the last couple of years. And I think everybody's seen what just a really amazing job the building, that historic renovation has been. And I also have with me tonight Norm Tebow. Norm's with Killingly Engineers. He's the project engineer for this project. Some of you may be aware that the holding company that owns the Whalers Inn last fall bought the building known as the Oddfellows property, which is on the corner of Cottrell and Haley Street at an address of 11 Cottrell Street. We bought it from Rod Dismaris last fall after negotiations that took the better part of 2 years, but we finally closed that transaction last fall. And so the same holding company that owns the inn owns this that property now as well. And we have applied to the Planning and Zoning Commission to construct 15 parking spaces, paved parking spaces behind the Cottrell Street building, so to serve that use and to serve that building. The project of this size typically doesn't come before the police commission. It is a site plan review only, but the commission exercised its right under the general statutes to hold a public hearing in this matter, which is now scheduled for early April. So it has been referred to the commission for review and comment. If it's okay, I'm going to share my screen just so I can acquaint you with the project a little bit. See if I can do this. Can everybody see that okay on the screen?
Yes.
All right. So this is a Google satellite image of the property we're talking about, and hopefully you can see my pointer too. This is the Oddfellows building at the corner of Cottrell Street and Haley Street, and behind it on Haley Street is a vacant lot, a currently vacant lot, which the holding company for the Whalers Inn and for 11 Cottrell also owns. And the Cottrell Street building, the Oddfellows building, is currently occupied. If those of you are familiar with it, we've got retail uses in the lower level of that. We've got about 2,500 square feet of retail space. And then in the upper 2 levels of the building, we have 4 residential units. The reality is right now, 11 Cottrell Street, which basically just encompasses the building, has very, very little, if any, off-street parking. And you can see it does have a driveway behind the building where there is some parking, but much of that driveway is actually on this other property. and it's there by easement. So there is no parking lot per se or off-street parking serving the building. So employees, customers definitely, and when there's not any parking in this driveway, residents are forced to park on the street. And from our perspective, that is legal right now. It's what we call legal non-conforming, but it doesn't really make for a great situation. We have a problem in Mystic with congestion in the Mystic neighborhood. It's something that both businesses and neighbors complain about every summer during the tourist season. And so what we're looking at is the potential to, and what we've applied for, is to build some off-street parking on this vacant lot behind the building to serve this building, to serve the residents in the upper floors, to provide employee parking for the retail spaces on the lower floor, and some potentially some customer parking as well. And again, the purpose is to alleviate on-street congestion and to make these spaces more viable, particularly during sort of peak season in the summertime. So I'm going to share another drawing with you. Let me see if I can do this now, if I can move my other one. Can everybody see that okay?
It's the same one, Bill.
Same one? Okay, let me see if I can stop sharing it. Right. Bear with me for a second as I try to, okay. See if I can stop sharing. Here we go. Sorry about that. All right, let me see if I can share another document. Is that any better? Can you see that, everyone?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, thanks. Each one of these virtual meeting programs is a little different, so I'm pretty comfortable with Zoom, but WebEx is a little different. So this is the proposal that we're putting together. So this is actually upside down to the drawing that you just saw. This shows Haley Street on the top and Cottrell Street here. So the plan would be to merge the vacant lot behind the Oddfellows building with this. So it's all one lot. It's all one property. And we would construct 15 parking spaces in that vacant grassy area behind the building that would serve this property, which is, quite a bit more than this driveway basically permits right now. The regulations allow us to build an accessory parking lot to a principal use on the same property. The primary access to the parking lot would be off of Haley Street through this curb cut, and we'd have a circulation flow through the parking lot and then back out the existing curb cut that's used right now, which is that driveway that goes behind the Oddfellows building and back onto Haley Street. And again, we'd have 7 parking spaces here. We'd have 8 here for a total of 15. We do have currently what I call an alleyway that comes off of Cottrell Street. You can see that parking space is blocked out right now. We do have an alleyway that comes in through this area, and this is pre-existing. This has to stay clear for emergency access purposes. But I know, there's been some talk, and we're going through a review right now with the town planner and the town engineer. There's been some talk of maybe signing this for emergency access only. This is not an access that we want to encourage or have for general use. It's more of an existing thing we need for maintenance and access to this in the case of an emergency. But the traffic flow basically would go in this counterclockwise direction and basically out. And we do this because Haley Street, as you know, is one way in this direction. Again, these 15 parking spaces, we perceive them, they will be parking spaces that will be primarily used by the 4 residential units in the upper story of the building and for employees of the retail space. And then whatever's left over would be available for customers of that space. Right now, the residents basically park in this driveway behind the building. And employees and customers are basically, jockeying for street positions. By no means will the 15 parking spaces fix the problem in downtown, Mystic with parking, but we're trying to do our part. I think, if we are able to build over the next several years a number of these smaller parking lots in downtown Mystic, I think we can help alleviate some of the congestion that you see during the summertime. And for us, there's a reason we want it too, and that is that we want to be able to have our tenants in this building who pay good rent to be in this building to have safe and convenient parking in this area. You'll notice that we've set back the parking significantly from our neighbors, both across Haley Street and our only other neighbor on this side of Haley Street. We're landscaping and putting privacy fence up for their security and their privacy. And we're also, the lighting of this parking lot, we're using low 42-inch bollards with directed lights. So we don't have any light poles or lights shining in people's yards. We want safety and security in the parking lot, but we don't want to light up the Mystic sky. So again, this is a very modest proposal, something that we want to try to get constructed as soon as possible to really make the Oddfellows building a more viable commercial mixed-use property in downtown Mystic. So with that, that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has. I know Mr. Tabor indicated he had some questions before the meeting started, but I'm absolutely willing to field any other questions that anybody else might have.
Bill, we appreciate that. And both Mr. Tabor and I were out on the site this week, and we ran into Amanda, so she answered some of our questions, and we did take a look at the site, and as a result, Commissioner Tabor does have some questions. Bob? He's muted. Commissioner Tabor, you have some questions for Mr. Sweeney?
Yeah, I do. Sorry about that. I muted myself, which is
That's okay.
Yeah.
it's,
Well,
a lot of people recommend that.
Meeting, but go ahead.
No, I was saying that we coincidentally just happened to run into Amanda because I think she was fearful we were going to break into the storage container when Commissioner O'Shaughnessy and I were over there.
She runs a tight ship over there, that's for sure. So.
Apparently not much that gets by her, but
Don't mess around.
no, that's good. No, those are good traits. One thing that we did have, you pointed it out, Bill, is the emergency access off of Cottrell.
Sure.
I know that there's a fence there, which obviously I guess you're not going to be able to close over during the daytime. But our concern would be for traffic. I'm not sure that there'd be the expectation of a lot of traffic exiting onto Cottrell that way. But as you know, there's more pedestrian traffic on the sidewalks there in Cottrell,
Right,
as opposed to Haley. So any efforts that can be made to ensure that folks do exit and enter off of Haley would certainly be more safe, certainly.
yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, particularly at peak times when people are jockeying for parking spaces on Cottrell. You don't want regular traffic sort of slipping out between cars when when you have pedestrians and people coming down Cottrell. So this was a comment that was raised by the planner as well. We literally have just gotten our first review comments yesterday and on Monday. So some of the comments from both the town engineer and the planner were just about that circulation pattern and how the alleyway off Cottrell works. So, I talked with Amanda after she met with you out on the site, and there's no reason we can't sign that for emergency access. The only thing I would be really hesitant about is physically blocking it, because in the event of an emergency, we want the ability for emergency vehicles to get through there. We want the ability, in the case of emergency, to somebody to get out of there as well. But we do not want that as a primary means of access. And I think appropriate signage could be put in place to discourage that use.
Well, that would be helpful because, as you know, Mystic certainly gets an influx of tourists, and
Yes.
A lot of times when they're either driving or walking downtown Mystic, they're not really attentive to what's going on, other than kind of gazing around and maybe trying to determine where they're going to have lunch.
Well, and we want to promote a pedestrian environment too. I mean, I think everybody in town, whether you're a developer or a neighbor, wants a pedestrian friendly environment. I mean, that's some of the attraction of Mystic on both sides of the river. So again, I think that's the kind of comment that would be very meaningful, I think, to send to the Planning and Zoning Commission to say, hey, listen, we should make efforts to limit that to emergency use, primarily. So
I think that'd be something we should, because in the engineering report, they describe the traffic patterns for in and out on Haley, but there's no discussion of what the anticipated traffic patterns or no traffic patterns or traffic patterns would be for that emergency exit or entrance. So
that's correct. Our intent was to use signage to encourage only access on and off, in and out on Haley.
Yeah.
But I think based on your comments, Commissioner Tabor, and the comments of the other town staff, I think what we'd like to do is add some additional signage to our proposal to make sure that it's clear that the intent of that alleyway is for emergency use and also maintenance. I mean, when you have buildings literally on top of each other, you need to be able to get around the buildings. So that's why we want to keep it open, but we just don't want to encourage the general public to use it.
all right, good, thank you. One other thing, and this does kind of pertain to parking. It's not a zoning thing because zoning is somewhat outside our purview.
Correct.
It does pertain to parking. You're merging the two lots, but those two parcels are in different zones, right?
Right. Correct.
So do you gain anything from a parking capacity by doing that at all, or?
We actually lose parking spaces by doing that. So let me explain. So the empty lot right now is residentially zoned. The lot that Cottrell Street is on is commercially zoned. And when we combine the lots, we will have what's called a split zone parcel. Part of the lot will be in the commercial zone, part will be in the residential. The parking lot is allowed to be built in the residential zone because it serves the commercial use that's on the lot. So the regulations allow you to do that, but you must adhere to the buffer requirements of the residential zone when you do that. So if you remember, again, I know the screen is down, but we have some pretty significant setbacks to Haley Street and to the neighbor. So we're maintaining the residential setbacks for that. If these were all commercially zoned, we could be much, much closer to the property line. We probably could add additional parking. And quite frankly, Mystic could use more parking, but we're trying to be as sensitive as possible to our neighbors. As you know, this neighborhood is very active. They take a great interest in any development projects. I'm sure there'll be neighbors that at the Planning Commission level that will have concerns. We're committed to trying to work with them, but we want to be respectful. We also want to address this project because A, it helps the parking congestion problem, but B, it makes our building more viable, which is really important to us.
Okay, all right, good, thank you. In the engineering report also, it describes, which I know this is standard, that only interior modifications or minor modifications to the existing structure that's there, I'll say the commercial building.
Sure.
They're exempt from a coastal site plan review and that type of thing. But if there's any future plans to either change the footprint or, and I'm not an architect, but I kind of harken back to my old days when I was gainfully employed. The kind of the roof design, it looks as though there's probably some space up there that maybe could be subsequently developed for some other alternative use. And I don't know that you're planning on doing anything of changing the footprint size, but would any of those potential changes, even though there's none discussed, would that have any impact on the parking that we're approving tonight?
No, it wouldn't. We have no plans right now for any change in what I call the program of the building. Retail on the bottom floor, 2 levels of residential.
Right.
If we were to change the program, we would have to, and again, that could happen in the future, but it's not something that's on the table right now. We would have to come back to the town and show that we have sufficient parking for that program.
Okay.
We don't have enough parking for the existing program at current. We're going to have enough parking under this plan. So if we change the interior of the building, let's say we cleared it all out and made it a recreation center, we're not doing that. We would have to do it. There's a calculation for that based on square footage, and you'd have to determine that. All I can say is this from my client is at this point, they intend to preserve this building. This is a building that has significant historic value. And so if there is anything we're going to do in the future, the most likely thing is a historic renovation of the exterior to bring it back to its grandeur. The building is looking a little tired. If we're going to have a phase two, the phase two will certainly involve taking that outside and making it more historically appropriate and compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. And that's the only thing that we are even discussing at this point, but that's not part of this phase.
No, I'm not, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting at all that you're making any kind of plan like that.
Sure.
The building is historic, and when you use that historic term, I'm concerned maybe that somebody didn't inform you that that's where I had taken my driver's license classes way back when. So, but talk about historic buildings, I guess, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm not suggesting that you're doing any change. I was just wondering if, from a parking perspective, and I understand that if there was anything down the road, which is completely speculative, you would have to go through the whole re-approval process through the town.
And in generally, Stonington is not an easy place to do business if you're a developer. That's just the reality. And
we've heard that.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you were to do something significantly changing the building, you're looking at a special permit. You're looking at public hearings. We're certainly coming before this board. So, we may be there in the future, but right now we're trying to take a very modest step to make the building more viable. And in the same time, do our part as a corporate citizen to try to take some parking off the street and put it where it belongs. And quite frankly, I know there's a big parking study going on in this community right now. I think one of the solutions to the parking congestion problem is encouraging property owners like the Whalers Inn, but not just the Whalers Inn, who have excess land to build satellite parking lots in appropriate places that are publicly available or serve existing uses where there isn't enough parking already. That's how you deal with it. You don't deal with it necessarily with one gigantic lot. You can deal with it with a lot of little, a lot of singles. You don't need a home run. A lot of singles put together can really make a difference with the parking situation. And, we'd like to be, we've talked with that parking group. We'd like to be sort of a model for other people to look at and say, hey, we can get some more parking on this property and take a little bit more off the street and take a little bit of that pressure off the neighbors.
Yeah, well, we certainly appreciate that effort and the additional, whatever the additional parking spots may be, that's certainly beneficial to the community. So thank you for that. One last question, which is your problem and not really ours, and not a parking problem per se, but if you've got 4 tenants there, residential tenants, and they have, say, assigned, or they park in this new area that you're going to be developing, they go off to work. How are you going to be monitoring that in some fashion, I would assume, so that when they return from work, they're not filled by people going to dinner at the restaurants or something, right? You're going to have
I mean, that's an internal control issue for us. So
it's not our problem.
I wouldn't be surprised. And again, I haven't talked in depth with Amanda about this, but we likely are going to have to sign resident parking only for 4 of the spaces. That's my guess, because I think they each have a space right now in that driveway effectively behind the building. But, one of the things is in mixed use environments and urban environments, there's an advantage of having mixed use because people go to work and those spaces are open. So, while it might be a resident only space, if a shopper parks there during the day and it's not being used, we have to look at that, but that might work and it might provide some additional parking spaces. That's the idea of shared parking or what we call peak parking. And again, we'll look at that internally, but we have enough parking right now. I mean, we have tremendously more parking than we have at current. And so we're going to look at how we apportion that and control that. It's really sort of an operational issue for us.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman, with my questions.
Thank you. Does any of the other commissioners have any questions for Attorney Sweeney? Mr. Elmer? Commissioner?
No, Commissioner Tabor asked the one question I had, that was about designated or specific parking for the residents.
Okay.
And
Commissioner
that
Turner?
was addressed.
Yeah, I just had a couple of comments and one quick question, either to Amanda or Bill. Just a thank you for helping assisting with the downtown Mystic parking situation. Last year, we had several hearings on moving Cottrell Street to one way, so you know it's a hot button in that neighborhood. So I think these two initiatives kind of dovetail nicely with one another, so I think it's a good move. Secondly, probably to Amanda. Amanda, during Restaurant Week, I was in that Shipwright's Daughter, and I got to tell you, they're banging it out of the park. All right, so
Thank you.
congratulations. And if that's any indication of the type of services you're offering to your people within the inn and also to the restaurant, it's really a combination that you're doing really good. And my third question was kind of dovetailing what Bob was saying and what a couple of the members were also talking about. Amanda, have they considered doing valet parking there? I know in season when things really get cranking in that Mystic area, your controls will be your responsibility. And I just wondered, what the thinking is at this point.
Well, thank you so much for visiting us. First of all, I'm so happy to hear you had a good experience at the Shipwrights. We're pretty proud of what we're creating there. We've got an amazing team built up. But as to your comments on valet, it is something we've considered. Logistically, there are a lot of challenges there, a lot of hoops to jump through, and a lot of legal and liability concerns that we've had regarding implementing that within our own organization. We have considered before outsourcing to a valet style company, but there's not readily, that's not super available in Southeastern Connecticut currently. It's definitely something that we would consider, but sorry, it's definitely something that we would consider. But this year, I think we really want to take a more active role in monitoring the parking. I mean, we do administer parking passes for the property currently, but really, having an employee that's stationed to monitor entry and exit to the lot, I think was going to make a big difference this year.
If I could just add to that too, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, Amanda. The ownership group behind Whalers Inn has obviously invested a significant amount of money in Mystic over the last several years, and I've identified for them the need to, if they want to continue to grow their business and look for other opportunities in Mystic, they also need to always consider parking. And there isn't a lot of parking on a lot of properties, so the need to identify satellite parking, which is allowed by the zoning regulations, is going to become more and more important. So everything we do now, parking overlays with that. And we have to not only meet the zoning code, which really is no way of getting around that, but we have to actually have it make it work operationally. And those are two often very different things. I mean, you might be able to build a restaurant with 2 parking spaces, but you can't run one with 2 parking spaces. So, we have to make sure that we can be effective for our customers too. So, but that is every decision we're making now going forward.
It's been great working with Bill. We're very aspirational people. We have these gorgeous dreams of what we're trying to create, and Bill keeps us on the straight and narrow and make sure we have all the logistics thought out.
I'm sort of the wet towel, as they like to call it.
Never, Bill. Never.
Thank you. Commissioner Bates, do you have any questions?
No, thank you though, but I think this is terrific. And Bill, I just want to second everything you said about the importance of thinking creatively about shared parking. That is in fact very successful in a lot of settings. And so that's terrific that you're going that direction. I think it's an important part of the answer to the challenge in Mystic. So thank you to you and Amanda for your leadership, both in terms of the business. I haven't visited the restaurant, Amanda, but now I have to, clearly. But thank you very much for all that you're doing. It's important to the health of the economy in Mystic, and that's important to all of us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stop by anytime.
I need a motion that we send on to the zoning board that we don't see any issues with parking or safety or traffic, except that we want to know that the alleyway that's on the north end of the building, the Whalers Inn new building, be marked for emergency use only. And motion for that?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second that, Commissioner Tabor.
And the chief has some comments first.
I would not only move that forward, but I would also, if it suits the commission, support this, because the commission has been involved in the parking studies, et cetera, Mystic, and trying to find parking spaces, Cottrell Street, et cetera. So it's not just a matter of moving it forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission. It's supporting the efforts of the Whalers Inn and the group there, because they have put a lot of work into this, and really it's things that we've been looking to do, in the amount of time that commission members have spent in the town of Groton and with the parking study. I think if we could go one step further, I think they put that effort into it.
It's a great point, chief, and when you send the comments over to the zoning board, would you add that to the letter that we're going to be sending over to the zoning board, please?
Absolutely.
Great.
Yep, there was approve it.
Okay, the next item.
It's all in favor, or
All
are they?
in favor?
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much for your time tonight, everybody. Really, really appreciate you taking the time for us, and that I really appreciate that motion too, because I think we certainly will need that next month with the Planning and Zoning Commission. So I hope everybody has a good night, and I hope I see you soon.
All right. Thank you very much.
So much.
Yeah.
Next issue on the agenda is the Ocean Breeze Land Company, and this has to do with an expansion of the deck. Is there anybody to speak to that here at the meeting?
I thought I saw one gentleman on there earlier. I thought it was from.
Roger, is there anybody raising their hand?
There's only two of the folks on the meeting. One is Mark Spruance.
That could be him.
He just
Yeah.
left. And the only other person who's not a committee member or in this room right now is named Yola, Y-O-L-L-A. That's all. Anybody else on the meeting?
Okay, yeah, I think YOLO is with the Good Friday walk, so I think we're already, that's good.
We already handled that one.
I think Mr. Spruance was with Whalers Inn.
Yes, yeah. So you look at this,
This is something that had been approved previously, and when they constructed the deck, they didn't continue on with the amount of construction, so they're reapplying to continue on, which was previously approved by zoning. Is that correct, Chief?
that's my understanding. So if you take a look at what they've done up there, they basically went out on the lawn, because they have quite a bit of property there. So this would just put it up on a deck and something that's already there. The views are amazing from up there on a nice night, so I can certainly understand why they'd want to do that. They have plenty of parking up there, unless they have a special event at the mansion, but still they have a lot of parking that's available to them.
Any of the commissioners have comments? Commissioner Elmer?
No, I do not, sir.
Commissioner Tabor?
No, I'm good.
Commissioner Turner?
No, I'm good.
Commissioner Bates?
I would just offer that I'm sort of pleased to see the possible expansion of outdoor seating. We still have a ways to go before we are truly through this public health pandemic. And it would be terrific to have more people sitting outside so that our businesses can do what they need to do, but as safely as possible. So I think it's a very positive thing.
I have a motion to send this on to the zoning board with the comments that we don't see any issue with parking safety or traffic with the expansion of the deck. I have a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Bates, second.
Second.
Mr. Elmer, all in favor?
Aye.
Pete, will you pass that on to the zoning board, please? The next item on the agenda It is a request for weekend flea market and farm at 29 Old Stonington Road. This is the Sailor Ed's property that's in the process of being sold for development. And we really don't have, I did talk to Michael, who sent us a very brief note here regarding what the plans are. I did talk to him on the phone, and I expressed our concern that we really don't have enough details to make a decision tonight. And I told him that my recommendation was to we table this till next month, and he's agreed that he's going to come back to the commission next month with more details on his plans for this weekend flea market and farmers market. So we'll table that till next month. Under old business, we need an update from the radio consultant, and the chief has graciously consented to step in for Richard's not being here tonight and give us a brief summary of how successful we've been in solving some of the issues that were brought up previously. Chief?
Well, this is like a version of the Raiders of the Lost Ark, if you want to call it, where it's the trap doors coming down at the last second to dive underneath. So as of 2 days ago, Richard has said that he's wrapped up the camera system as far as his installation goes. So I guess we're in a bit of a test period, and then there's going to have to be a big training part of this so we know how to use it, utilize it, and so that the supervisors and officers that need to get information, i.e. videos off of the system, are able to do so. He said it's the most easiest use system that he's put together, so we'll see very shortly on that. As far as the radio system goes, we continue to be dealing with the state on a variety of issues. Nothing really has changed since the last time, so we're hoping that next month Richard is coming on board to see where we stand with the Togwalk Road project that he was looking at and looking over, because that's something that's definitely needs to be addressed in the near future. So we're in standby mode with Richard. He's in out of state right now, and hopefully he'll be back in business here.
So, Chief, would you say from where we were last month, where we were kind of disillusioned with Richard's performance, has it improved since last month? Maybe not to an acceptable level, but to a manageable level?
I'm standing by. Let's see how this works.
Okay. So we'll wait to hear from him next month. Do any of the commissioners have any questions? Okay. The next one is a letter we received from the state regarding rectangular rapid flashing beacons at crosswalks. This is only, these are only eligible for mid-street crosswalks, not at intersections. And when we looked at the areas that this may be viable for us, one of the areas we thought it would work was over by the aquarium, where we have one of those, and anything to improve that would be better for traffic and control of pedestrians. I asked Chief, is there any other areas besides that you think that might be applicable, that we may be able to take advantage of this program by the state?
Well, I think this is probably one of the first months that Jess Brown has not been on the call or been here from the Nature Center or Denison Homestead. So, I mean, as far as that goes and the amount of foot traffic they've been having up there with the different events that serves all of that up there. I know the state did replace most of the signs up there, and that was part of an earlier project. But I've sort of racked my brain on what are municipally owned roads, not state roads,
right.
Municipal roads.
Right.
This would work on. So if you look at it, even in Pawcatuck, where would we do something in Pawcatuck? You know, the main thoroughfares are Route 1, Route 2, Pequot Trail, and the other ones I thought on River Road or Mechanic Street, those are seasonal, so more with the marina. Whereas the aquarium, yeah, it's a little bit more to the summer, but you have at times thousands of people crossing Coogan Boulevard at that by West Marine, that other parking lot that their staff comes across. Actually, the aquarium hires a security guard to be out there during the summer, across the road there. So I certainly think that this would be helpful to the aquarium. And then the other part of it would be, I think, the Denison Homestead campus, if I'm using the right terminology. I know there's a lot of different entities there, but I think they all benefit from having potentially that. I'm not sure it fits in with their, being a homestead and look, but they did agree to the big yellow and orange signs up there, so this would be flashing lights, and somebody would hit a button and it would go across. So I think if they're agreeable to it, we can have that happen.
You think that in the future, I mean, we're going to be moving ahead with the sidewalk projects along Route 1, but that's a state road, so they wouldn't be eligible for that area, correct?
Right. Until we know what the plan is on Route 1, the only other suggestion I would have is that in concert with this, I would ask the commission if they agree that I would send an additional letter to the state of Connecticut, piggybacking off of this, and recommend that they put in at least one of these on Route 27 in that sort of area between the two traffic lights on Route 27. You have two of them, one at the north lot, one at the south lot, so you're able to go across. It's traffic control, it's red lights, etc. The ones in the mid-block there are just crosswalks, and we get usually a couple complaints a year of traffic not stopping for mostly workers at the seaport and pedestrians trying to cross the street, or actually homeowners from the Highlands there coming down, and people just don't stop in the mid-block there.
I think that'd be a great idea if we could get the state to allow that, because it is a relatively dark area, even with the lighting that's there, so that would be an improvement. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for the chief or any comments? Commissioner Elmer?
Do we have to identify to the state where these are going to go before they're going to provide them?
Yes. Yep.
So we can't ask for a couple of extra and have them in inventory and...
No, they're not going to stockpile them.
Oh, you're talking about the sidewalk situation and so on. That's down the road a piece, and
correct.
Would we be able to revisit this at that point? I guess the answer is no.
I think at some point in time, once the sidewalks are finished, they would be identifying probably a location, unless they were just planning on having sidewalks both sides that go the full length. At some point in time, you're going to cross over somewhere, and that somewhere would be coming before this board, and at that particular time, we would then forward to the state of Connecticut that if they could do the same thing there.
Okay.
Hopefully they don't say, well, if you want it, then you have to pay for it.
Get this equipment, keep it in until that time comes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chief, this is Commissioner Tabor. Yeah, maybe one of the locations on the Route 27 that you described could be in the proximity of their employee parking lot, because I see a lot of times in the morning and later afternoon when folks are coming and going back and forth to work at the seaport. People on 27 a lot of times don't stop to let them across. Either they don't see the crosswalk, or they just they're not paying. They want to see where they're supposed to turn for the seaport or something, so their attention is elsewhere.
My recommendation would be in the area, and I know with your history over there, in the area of Gingham Gate.
Yep, that's a good spot.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a good spot.
Small lot.
Okay.
I never took any classes in that building, but that's a good spot.
You sure you weren't born in one of them?
No, it's not a historic. Therefore, it's not a historic building. But
Commissioner Turner, you have any questions for the chief or comments? Commissioner Turner?
He's got himself muted right now.
Muted. Commissioner Bates?
No, thank you.
Okay. We'll try Commissioner Turner again.
I'm all set.
Okay.
I'll forward that off to the state.
Thank you. Would you please, Chief?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care.
I need a motion to approve the minutes of our Thursday, February 11th meeting of the regular Commissioners, Board of Police Commissioners meeting as passed out to the Commission members.
I'm making a motion to approve the minutes from the Thursday, February 11th, 2021 regular meeting.
Second,
I'll second that, Commissioner Tabor.
any comments? All in favor, raise your hand.
All right.
Approved.
Commissioner, Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, just maybe bounce back, if we could bounce back momentarily to the Whalers Inn discussion. It seems
you
as
didn't have
though,
enough questions on that?
well, no, I did, but this is just a kind of a random
All right.
thought. And
Go
I'll be brief. They seem to be wanting to be good corporate local citizens here. And I don't know if there's any need for us to have any additional cameras, either on, the Whaler Inn building or the building that was up, we were discussing this evening, whether or not that's something that they would maybe consider if we thought that there was a need, or they would be helpful to have some additional cameras at that location.
I believe we have sufficient coverage down there, Commissioner
Okay.
Tabor.
All right, that's fine. That's fine.
I think we do. Chief, what do you think?
I think if you want to do this offline, so it's not in public as to where our security cameras are or not.
Okay.
Well, again, it's just a thought.
Yep, thank you. Report of the chief.
Good, almost evening, it's still afternoon, so a couple things right out of the box is shout out and thank you to the entire police commission, all five of you, also in sort of the spirit of Cal Lord and Father Tom and the rest of the Ray Jones and Barbara Dakota with their work they did with the police department, provided Dunkin' Donut gift cards to everybody here, so it was much appreciated. So I wanted to give a shout out to you guys as well. I know the first select woman, Danielle Cheeseborough, had sort of paid it forward. It was acts of random kindness. She had brought cookies and stuff over to us, a big tray upstairs and one downstairs. So that was appreciated as well. So I just wanted
Thank you, Chief.
to shout out to all of you for your kindness to everybody here. Moving sort of along with the report, you have your budget report in there. We're at 63.5% through the fiscal year, and we've used 61.5% of our budget, which means that we are doing okay as far as not going over budget. There are certainly line items that are over budget. For instance, our regular overtime, we're overextended by about 12% at this point in time. But because of our openings that we have with police officers, we are obviously in the black and not the red when it comes to that. So financially, we are in decent shape, sort of moving into the last quarter of our fiscal year. Moving on, you have your monthly statistics. Still, things are been in a COVID lockdown here, so we're seeing some things start to come back. We had a bump up in accidents. We're still having the medical assists that are out there that are continuing to be an issue that's going on. We still have a lot of thefts from vehicles and thefts of vehicles as well out there that continue to plague a lot of the communities in the state. But sort of from an activity point of view, I think we're sort of on the brink of some things going on, especially with the vaccine rollout and everything going on. We're anticipating having a very busy summer, if we read it correctly. All you have to do is drive through downtown Mystic on a Saturday or Sunday right now, even though it's 30, 35 degrees out. It's wall-to-wall people. I see the lines at Sixth, and you can't get into a restaurant, as evidenced by Bill Turner. Obviously got a reservation when others could not, so he got in Shipwright's door. So I think it's going to be a busy time in Mystic this summer, that's for sure. You have your alarm report that's in there. Nothing special. Special events. That's actually, we have something on the schedule, which is nice to see that's going on.
Yep.
And then under E, we have the Axon quote and bid waiver. because we are on right after this with the Board of Finance, and one of the big things is the Axon, which is a body cam and dash cam quote. So we have Lieutenant Schneider behind me and Sergeant Beebe. Lieutenant Schneider has done an outstanding job. He was able to negotiate a lower price, actually $70-some thousand off. We started off at over $600,000. The latest quote we have is $464,000, and that does not include the potential for a 30% matching grant from the state of Connecticut. That hopefully we can get that as well for body-worn cameras. So that if we're able to get that grant from the state, would certainly equal quite a bit of money, probably about $130,000 off of that as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Schneider, who's done the heavy lifting, and I certainly appreciate all of his efforts and time he has spent with Axon and dealing with them and negotiating for them, and to try and get this program that we have to do for a variety of different reasons, but certainly it is technology and things that we need to do for the future of policing. So with that, I will turn it over to my colleagues in the back, and I appreciate all the work they do.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I just real quickly will go over the quote. It's pretty lengthy and very detailed, so I'll try to make this brief. About a year ago, we formed a committee here within the police department to study potential products in the body camera and the fleet camera world, in anticipation that we would be purchasing them for the department. I think it's important to remember there's three important components to the body camera system. It's not just the cameras themselves, although that's a major portion of it, but you also have the required infrastructure in place within the police department here to accommodate the system. And that can be anything from just our internet connection to an external Wi-Fi access point, to the workstations, the mobile data terminals in the field to operate the interface. And then there's the personnel, and we'll get into that during the Board of Finance meeting as well, to manage the system and some of the complexities of that. But back to the quote, as the chief had indicated, we're at $464,186, which is certainly not a small number, but it's down from our initial quote of $610. And it's important to remember also this is a 5-year term, so it's a 5-year contract that we're signing with Axon, and that incorporates a program that they refer to as TAP, or the Technical Assurance Plan. And what that does is it allows the PD to acquire 45 individual body cam units. And then some may ask why 45 when you have a limited number of personnel. You have to have spare units in the field that can be deployed at any time in case one breaks. So there's 45 there. And then there's 13 in-car camera systems. We need both to meet the requirements of the Police Accountability Bill this past summer. So moving into that technical, or the assurance plan, or the TAP plan, it allows the agency to buy the cameras at a discounted rate. The agency has the option of making 5 annual payments, or we can front load a larger portion of that cost into the first year. That may be important because that first year is going to be covered proportionally by a 30% grant through the state. Every 2.5 years, all the body cameras are going to be replaced by Axon to give you the newest technology in the field, and they're probably going to be worn anyway. And every 5 years, all the fleet cameras will be replaced. Regardless of whether their time frame is up, there's a lifetime warranty on all the cameras. So if any of them ever break at any given point, we ship them back to Axon, they immediately replace it. Good. That's unlimited cloud storage of all videos captured by both sets of cameras. And there's also access to a rather complex interface that they call evidence.com that they manage, and allows you to access the cloud storage. It also allows you to redact things, share videos between courts, civilians, and so on and so forth. One thing to remember is that it is a 5-year program, so this number carries on for the 5 years, but at the completion of the 5 years, we would have the option of re-enrolling with Axon, and they project a 3 to 5% increase for for the next 5-year cycle. There's a lot of specifics. I don't know if you had a chance to look at all the intricacies of the thing, but I'm just going to hit some of the highlights. The body cameras themselves are offloaded into a docking station when we get back to the police department at the completion of the shift. That serves two purposes. It offloads the data, and it also charges the body camera. The in-car cameras offload a different way. They'll offload via the Wi-Fi access point on the back of the building. That is not included in this quote, but Roger Kaiser through IT has quoted us out about a $1,500 piece of equipment that would do that. That will forward off all data captured by the cameras to the cloud that Axon will maintain for us. And again, it's unlimited storage. And then we would have access to their interface to gain access to each of those individual videos. One important note, and it has a side effect here, is that the Flea 3 camera that they're going to be rolling out, which we would be purchasing under this quote, has LPR technology built into it. LPR is the license plate reader that we currently have on one of our cars. That's a SIP item that we usually request every 5 years. We're up for one now. It's about a $25,000 item. That would no longer be necessary as part of our SIP request moving forward, because now we have 13 cameras in the field capturing that same data. And that's an important tool for both criminal investigations and just public safety. So that's a bit of a cost savings moving forward. The other thing that's important to remember is that there is an early enrollment incentive that's going to be offered to us on this grant, and that number that I gave you earlier encompasses that. That's an 8% discount if we sign up prior to March 31st, and that's kind of why we're before you today. It's a bit of a rush, but they'd like to have it signed prior to the completion of the first quarter of this year. That would offer us a savings of about just over $40,000. Obviously, signing a contract prior to the fiscal year beginning is a little awkward. So Axon, when approached with this, has allowed us to include a non-appropriation clause. And that basically states that if anything falls through prior to July 1, whether it be funding or decisions, they would allow us to back out of the contract with under no obligation to us. So as it stands right now, if we were to sign this contract, we would get the 8% discount. They would ship out the product at a date beyond July 1, and at that ship date, we would be invoiced. So we would still be paying the bill after July 1 at the start of our fiscal year. Another side effect that we've determined through working with Roger and the IT department is that some of the infrastructure that we had in place currently, which was operating adequately at best, is not going to be suitable for the Axon program and to support some of the programs that they're running. Specifically, the mobile data terminals or the computers in the cars. We have 13 of them, as we said. Several of them are running, actually 9 of them are running Windows 7. Windows 7 is not a good compatible platform to run the applications that are needed for this system. So if you think about it, that computer there is going to link up both the Flea cameras and your body cameras, and it's going to allow you to interface and code or title videos in so that you can say at the completion of a car stop, yes, this is a car stop, this one is this case number. You can review the video in the field. That application is going to require an operating system of Windows 10. So again, part of this trickle-down effect of what Axon's pushing out is going to be the replacement of at least 9 of the MDTs in the cars as well for it to work. And those come in at a cost of between $45,000 and $55,000. That's a real general overview of everything, but I think what the chief had brought to the table today was potentially a discussion on signing the contract with specifically Axon for that early signature incentive prior to March 31st. We have gone to them and asked for an extension. They said that there are incentives each quarter. There is no guarantee it's an 8% savings after this quarter. And based on my discussions with the sales rep, I would highly doubt that it's So if anybody has any questions.
A couple of comments. It's my understanding that the contract has been reviewed by the town attorney and has made some changes, but basically he doesn't have any problem with it signing this contract with Axon, right?
Correct. Yeah, I believe he's agreeable specific to the non-appropriation clause that would allow us to back out,
Okay.
provided we can't obtain funding after July 1.
One thing I think may be important for the other commissioners to know is, could you just explain how important it is to have this redaction and this investigation software, something that we need and why it's needed? Because I think that's an important concept that we really need that part of this contract.
Right. So I will, and they admit the same thing. Trying to work your way through this quote is very difficult. It's very technically written. They have a lot of verbiage in there that they probably don't need. It's broken up in a way that's difficult to understand. But some, as Commissioner O'Shaughnessy has indicated, there's a lot of licensing that they've included. And you'll see them. And one of them is called the performance license. And that specific license is super important because it allows the command staff here at the police department, when you talk about police accountability, a part of that is, yes, everybody has a body camera and it's running. Is it running per the policies and procedures set forth by the department? That performance license allows you to audit periodically a randomly selected number of videos and document your audit trail so that you can ensure that procedures and policies are being followed. And I think that's an important part of police accountability, especially. It's just not having cameras. It's, are you running them when you're supposed to? Are you coding them when you're supposed to? The other part of that is the redaction studio versus the redaction system. So that's another option that we did select. This probably will be a cost-saving feature moving forward. As you can imagine, if you get to a scene and it's a one-car stop with one officer, with one body camera, one fleet camera, and the whole interaction with the individual took 5 to 10 minutes, probably not a big deal to redact that video. If you have 3 to 4 officers at a scene of a domestic where there may be victims, there may be juveniles, and there's 3 to 4 body cameras, now 3 to 4 fleet cameras rolling at the exact same time, those are all interlinked together. Those all have to be redacted during the FOIA request. In addition to that, they all have to be viewed prior to going out to court when they request it. That can be very time consuming. That redaction assistant basically has some AI technology that allows the redaction to be done very quickly and efficiently moving forward, so that the person being tasked with the redaction basically starts the program, and certain things like license plates, the NDT data terminals in the cars are not supposed to be viewed by the public. A juvenile or a victim's face, this system will start to recognize a selected person when you select it during the beginning of the video, and then it will seek out that person for the remainder of the video and automatically redact their face. It'll automatically recognize license plates moving forward. And the more times you redact a specific object like a license plate or the mobile data terminal screen, it recognizes that in the future as something that you would automatically want to take out of the video anyway. And certainly you can put it back in, but over time they indicate that there's a cost savings, right? Because there's the salary line item for how much time are you investing in redaction versus how much time is the system taking that and giving it back to you. So that's an important part of it too. There's a few other licensing that we talked about that we did take out that were cost savings. One was a signal sidearm kit. That was a wirelessly Bluetooth device that straps onto your holster. We saw a variety of issues potentially with that. Muscle memory not turning on, relying on it being turned on by the device itself. That creates a false sense of security there. There's also issues with, is it going to be reliable? What about the plainclothes officers? If they're swapping out uniforms, how many devices do we have per holster in the field? So that was eliminated out of the field. And then there's the auto tagging license. We currently don't have an RMS system that will kind of support auto tagging. And auto tagging basically just means that the completion of a case, you would go to an accident report. Well, there's a CAD field where the dispatcher puts into the field, you went to an accident, you get assigned a case number. Axon would pair up with your RMS system, your records management system, and say, oh, these two events happened at the exact same time with the exact same person, and they would automatically tag it as the car accident with this case number. Kind of saves the officer's time, and eventually that may be something that we want to look at. Right now, it's not feasible because our RMS system doesn't support it. So those are some of the licensing agreements.
Do any of the commissioners have questions for the lieutenant? Commissioner Elmer?
A procedural question, Lieutenant. I finished my patrol. I've come into the station. What happens to the camera? Am I responsible for downloading it?
You are. So what would happen?
And how much time does that take?
Well, it shouldn't take very long. Ideally, what we'd like to see is the officers coding each event that takes place in their car during their shift. So at the completion of their shift, all the events themselves or all the recordings are already tagged with what they are. Maybe be a car stop, a citizen assist, a domestic. And then all they do is drop it into a docking station. Automatically, everything is uploaded within seconds to the cloud with the tagged events, and then it charges itself. And at the completion of the charging cycle, you could remove it and then wear it again.
So we're not giving them an extra 45 minutes to an hour of work downloading information they've gathered all day and doing their job.
Theoretically, at the end of every shift, they should just be able to leave like they typically do on any given day now. I'm sure there's going to be circumstances where it's a very busy shift. They hadn't had an opportunity to tag events and they may be running over, but that would be an exception just like any other event that takes place now where you get busy.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Tabor, any questions for the lieutenant?
No, I know this company is probably one of the better ones that offers this type of service, but just historically, have they performed as well as their reputation? And I guess what I mean by that is if when the video material or data that they're recording, has it been easily able to get to court cases, or I guess have they ever been found to be unable or to do what they described that they're able to do or should be doing?
I have not heard that. The feedback that we have gotten, I've spoken at length with 3 other departments, and specifically the people that head up their camera systems, and they're all very pleased with the Axon product and the support. That was one of the biggest things that impressed us right away, is the support system that they have and their customer service. I haven't heard of any issues with the cloud-based storage. I'm sure there has been, but that wasn't a concern of ours.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I didn't think that there was because, I know a lot less than you do about it, but I know they have a good reputation. But that was my only question, I guess.
Right.
What it also does is with the cloud-based, because Roger is sitting here as well, it saves the IT department a lot of work in trying to maintain a server and keep that up and going, and it is really the way of the future.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense.
Commissioner Turner, any questions for the lieutenant?
I'm all set.
Okay. Commissioner Bates.
I just want to thank the officer for the really thorough work on this. Your memo was really well written. This is complicated and there are a lot of aspects to it. And you not only did incredible legwork on this over time, but you expressed it in a really clear and easy to understand way for us as to what you concluded. So that was very helpful, and just want to thank you for all that extra effort. I think this is a great proposal and very comfortable with it moving forward. So thank you.
Plus he was able to save us some money, which is a nice addition too. So thank you.
Okay, we need a motion to send on to the Board of Finance.
Well, there's a couple things. It's our key is to have a bid waiver for this to go with Axon.
Oh, yeah, just a bid waiver, yeah.
And also authorize me to enter into the agreement. Hopefully in a couple hours they're going to agree with that so that we can save the 8%, which is $40,000, to enter into this and move forward. So I would, somebody want, whatever I said right
So
there,
moved.
somebody want, So moved, yes, thank you.
Second,
I'll second that.
all in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. The consent agenda, is there anything on the consent
Well,
agenda?
just one other thing that it's not on your agenda is the hiring. I would probably give you fair warning that in the next couple weeks, probably prior to our next Board of Police Commission meeting, we may want to do a special meeting that we have interviewed a number of certified officers, which I know you've already interviewed a number of them already, but we have another group that has come forward and have taken tests and initial backgrounds, et cetera. So I'll turn over to the captain, actually. He's been coordinating that.
So we have 3 additional lateral officers that are in our process now, along with simultaneously running an entry-level process, which we have 17 people signed up to attend the agility test on the 20th this month at the high school at 10 o'clock in the morning. So we're running them simultaneously, but we've been moving quickly with the lateral officers as well. We've had an officer come up from South Carolina yesterday and took an LEC exam with 2 other local lateral candidates, and all 3 passed. And we threw together a quick oral board for the South Carolina officer, and he did very well. And I think you'll be impressed when you interview him. But we are moving quick. We're setting up for the one you've already authorized the chief to give a conditional offer of employment. His background is pretty much complete, and he's all set. He's moving forward to a physical stress test, and we're going to be moving very quickly with him. So with the 3 laterals, like the chief said, we're right around the corner from needing another interview just for those 3, and then it's right after the 20th. We would like to jump on some interviews for the people that are successful in completing the physical agility test, because as much as we're looking for good people, so are all the other surrounding police departments. We need to move quickly to make sure that we get the best of this group before someone else scoops them up. So there will be some interviews coming up in the near future.
How long do you think that will take?
So if we do the 20th, I suspect out of the 17, if we're lucky, 12 will show, and then we normally lose a few to failure, and then we'll sign them up. And a week from then, we could potentially be doing interviews for the police department.
Right.
And then we do a minor background, and then they come to you. So their initial background with the police department would probably be a week from the agility test, and then a week or so later, they would be potentially coming to you if we're going to be moving quickly.
I would suspect that at next month's meeting that we would be doing the recruit level, and then probably within 2 to 3 weeks, probably in about 2 weeks, we would be doing the laterals. So laterals would be a special meeting, and then basically the recruit would be at your next regular meeting a month from now.
Right.
The officer that does have the conditional offer, I would hope that by hopefully tax time, April 15th, that he would be walking through the door here at least in an FTO capacity. In other words, he would be with another officer, not able to do anything other than go out on patrol and learn what's going on. The police academy may take some time to issue the imperative compliance, which is basically they will tell us, the academy tells us, what training that officer will need to become a certified officer in Connecticut. They'll give him a provisional certification until he finishes that particular training. But we hope to have him on board within a month at this point in time. It all depends on when you can get the physical schedule next week, and then he'd have to give notice to his existing department, and with that, then he's on board.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
I would suggest for the, any commissioners who maybe have not attended the physical agility test that the captain was referring to, I would suggest if you got time, I know everyone's busy, but at least go for maybe part of it. If we're still able to do that, Captain. I know I went to one at Fitch when it was held a number of years ago. I was exhausted by the time I got home, but after the agility part, but I would certainly, seriously, I would certainly recommend you go and see the testing that the potential officers are put through. It's
Where is it?
That's going to be on the 20th at 10 o'clock at the high school, and be signs directing you inside the gym annex where we started. I plan on attending myself.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask another question, and I don't know if there's a requirement that the interviews are the same night as the commission meeting, but that makes for an extended session. I'd be grateful, as others here who might also, work a long day before we get to the police commission meeting, if it were possible to do interviews on a separate day instead of having that extended session. Is that something that we can contemplate?
I'll have to look into that. Chief, I think that we probably can do that.
It's just like the laterals where you do a special meeting.
Sure.
It's up to something, each, Lisa, to be honest with you, there's some commissions over the years rather do it all and have one night, get it all over with, instead of breaking it up into separate nights. So it's really your call on what you guys want to do or not do as far as that goes.
So any of the other
I just think that some of us would be a little bit better able to be fresh and fully focused on the interviews if it didn't follow on what is usually about an hour-and-a-half meeting already. So it's just a thought. If others believe it's more convenient to do it all in one extended session, then I'm happy to accommodate. But I did want to make that suggestion as something that, at least for my part, I'd prefer.
That may be beneficial to Bob Tabor anyways, because it is a long day for Bob.
He needs to get better.
No, I take a nap. I could take a nap early in the afternoon, so it's fine for me. But no, I'd be certainly amenable to that, as long as we don't conflict with some NCAA basketball tournament games. But other than that, no, I think that's a good suggestion.
Bill, what are your thoughts? Bill Turner.
I like the idea of fresh with interviews myself. I think a separate night is appropriate.
Right. Commissioner Elmer?
I'm fine with that. I don't mind the extended meetings, but I plan my month. I mean, I've got this night blocked out for the rest of the year.
Well, if you're looking at entry level, you could be interviewing 10 people, 8 or 10 people.
No,
That's a long time.
Yeah. We've had some marathons years, but I have no problem with that.
So we'll schedule it that way, Lisa, so we get a fresh look at it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to my fellow commissioners. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Consent agenda?
Well, there was a couple things on there that I thought was interesting. The Stuffer Cruiser, like that letter, and I did write a couple letters in support of some of the other departments in town. Certainly we're going to support our stuff ahead of that, but certainly trying to help out with some of the other departments that are there, including IT, who's sitting right here in the room, and how important that position is to our continued success.
I have a motion to accept the report of the chief and the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. Passed. I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Just a reminder that we're on in 50 minutes with the board, or less than that, with the Board of Finance.
I'll be there. If anybody else would like to attend the Board of Finance, more than welcome. Thank you all. See you next month, if not sooner.
Right. Thank you. Good night.
Who's that taking place?
You going to bed, Bob?
Yeah, right here.
No, I might stay up late.